Should you watch Jujutsu Kaisen? Jujutsu Kaisen is the pinnacle of anime. At least that's what a lot of people say. They also say that it has the coolest fights, the best storytelling, and the best white-haired guy with eye protection. But is it really worth the watch? I recently rewatched Jujutsu Kaisen with my girlfriend to answer that question for myself. And now, it's time to answer that question for you. Jujutsu Kaisen's story is full of hardship. Almost every episode within the first season experiences this to some extent. It's a creative take on the classic tale that we've seen time and time again, of an average person learning that the world is far bigger than themselves and that they have a role to fulfill. This recurring theme of a noble-hearted warrior presented with the great threats of the unknown is plastered all over many other films and shows, especially anime. However, I believe that the way Jujutsu Kaisen structures itself twists the story in a way that is incredibly unique and a new look upon this somewhat drained trope. The main character, Yuji Itadori, unlike most protagonists in these types of stories, begins as an incredibly strong person, able to break world records in sports he's never played before on a whim. At first glance, you may think this means that his journey is going to be far easier, but that could be nothing further from the truth. Because of his immense strength, along with something he comes in contact with in the very first episode, the evil forces of this world are drawn to him. These aren't your basic threats either. He is plunged straight into the deep end, having to battle against curses so powerful that even the average Jujutsu sorcerer, who is far stronger than Yuji, would have difficulty or potentially no shot at winning against. However, unlike some protagonists, Yuji doesn't win these fights by simply being better. It comes with massive consequences for what he has to do to assure victory and save his friends. And this brings up another incredibly strong point of Jujutsu Kaisen's storytelling: Yuji's friendships. Yuji is a guy who never really had any close friends throughout his regular life. Despite this, he is incredibly outgoing and a happy-go-lucky sort of guy. This has him wind up making friends with even the most unlikely people. In Jujutsu Kaisen, the role in which most of the characters fulfill is that of a Jujutsu sorcerer, someone who can manipulate the energy formed by negative emotions into powerful techniques. This energy is called cursed energy. This concept of a curse is incredibly prominent in Jujutsu Kaisen and a recurring motif. Jujutsu sorcerers are specifically tasked with exorcising cursed spirits to protect those who are unable to defend themselves against them. Considering you can't even see these spirits without either being near death or having your own cursed energy, Jujutsu sorcerers serve a vital spot within the hidden back end of society. Among Jujutsu sorcerers, there is somewhat of a stigma, where many of the higher-ups within Jujutsu society do not care how hard you work, what potential you show. They really only seem to care what your innate technique is. An innate technique is an ability someone is born with, and if you're born with a mediocre one, you're most likely going to be looked down upon. This scenario is strangely inverted with Megumi, one of Yuji's closest friends and classmates. His innate technique is that of a very noble man in Jujutsu society. Despite this, throughout the show, Megumi never seems to look down on others the way most people with this ability would. However, Megumi is very cold and distant from most people. This is why Yuji makes a perfect friend for him and why their bond can be felt as such a real relationship. This is because Yuji isn't the kind of person to just leave someone hanging no matter how much they want it. Additionally, there is Nobara, the other first year at Tokyo Jujutsu High, who serves as a perfect slot in the three-way dynamic. Megumi and Yuji are almost too willing to throw their lives into danger when the situation doesn't call for it. Nobara, however, is incredibly tactical despite her somewhat crass demeanor. Last but certainly not least is what many people consider to be the GOAT of Jujutsu Kaisen, Gojo. I'm sure you've seen many memes referencing him, or maybe even clips of the anime itself including him. The reason people love Gojo and consider him to be the best character is because he is the strongest. He is set up in such a way where you know that he is more than talk, facing off against a very powerful adversary in his first appearance and making a mockery of them. However, this is all due ultimately to his bloodline. What's interesting about this is that Gojo is almost an exact parallel of Yuji, which is what makes him interesting as a mentor figure. He was born with great power and managed to hold on to it, his most challenging battles winding up in the enemy being entirely demolished. Ultimately, he seems overpowered? Despite this, he isn't overpowered for no reason, unlike some anime. His ability is what provides him incredible strength. Without explaining it for a lack of spoiling, it is almost perfect when it comes to an ability for the strongest. It has insane offensive capabilities that are only outmatched by its even crazier defensive capabilities that are only able to be beaten by special weapons in most cases. Ultimately, the story of Jujutsu Kaisen is very rewarding at times. However, there is somewhat of a dread that hangs over the story as a whole. Without saying who, when, where, or why, characters will die, and it will most certainly be characters that you will feel for. Almost every character in Jujutsu Kaisen is incredibly motivated and believes that they are doing what is right. However, because of this, it makes the defeat of those evil forces that much sweeter. Getting revenge against the people who hurt those who mattered most to Yuji feels incredibly rewarding. There is an additional layer to this that provides even more intrigue though, which is the people Yuji fights also have their own emotions, and in certain scenarios, Yuji will mourn those that he has to kill, which is something many anime miss out on, instead opting to make their villains just evil for the sake of it. By the way, this is my first ever video. If you're liking it so far, please like and subscribe, and comment down below which show I should cover next. Cursed energy in Jujutsu Kaisen is one of the most interesting power sources in anime. It is potentially the best plot device in anime today. The reason for this being that, since cursed energy is generated by negative emotions, it gives an actual reason for our main character to have those incredible moments after someone he cares about is injured. In most anime, this is written off as willpower, which is something I absolutely despise, especially when in other anime, someone will just resist some sort of attack just because they have willpower. In Jujutsu Kaisen, since cursed energy can empower your body, being angry that your friend is injured genuinely makes you stronger. Additionally, there is a great literary device within a technique known as revealing one's hand, which is a binding vow that someone uses cursed energy to make with themselves, in which someone reveals their technique in order for its effectiveness to be increased. This is a perfect way to actually explain a technique to the viewers without it just being stupid and coming out of nowhere. Finally, the reason you clicked on this video. Now, you may expect with how positively I've spoken about Jujutsu Kaisen that I'm going to say that no matter what, you should certainly watch it. However, I don't think that's the case. As much as I personally love it, if you struggle with things that are gross or moderate gore, you may not enjoy Jujutsu Kaisen as it is somewhat filled with it. Additionally, if you're someone who enjoys more casual slice of life anime, then this is most likely not for you. Jujutsu Kaisen has incredible emotional depth that most people can come to enjoy, but if you're not someone who enjoys a more cold and realistic story, then you may not find yourself enjoying it nearly as much as I have. However, if you love shows like Hunter x Hunter, Demon Slayer, and Bleach, this show is most likely up your alley. If you enjoy to see a main character struggle to overcome the odds set against them, even when it seems impossible, and get excited seeing the characters you've come to love kick ass, meanwhile having very deep and realistic emotions shared between the cast of characters, then you will love Jujutsu Kaisen. So, at the end of the day, there isn't a yes or no. It's ultimately up to you. So, now my question for you is, are you going to watch Jujutsu Kaisen? God, I never want to say Jujutsu again.